Now we're going to talk about the loops in Python. So there are two types of loops in Python. One of them is similar to what you already know from Java. It's very similar to the while loop. It's also called while, using a while keyword. But it's pretty much like it's condition-based loop. Okay, so if you remember the elements of the loop in from Java, so let's try to remember together. So what are the elements or the components of the loop? So for the loop, we need some initialization, initial value, initialization, okay? And we need some sort of condition or stopping criteria, stopping criteria. Okay, so some way to uh, know how to end the loop. And then there is the update. Now, by the way, now this hash in Python is the comment. And remember in Java, if you wanted to add a comment to the code, you just use the double slash, right? Now in Python, it's just a hash. Okay. So let's say we wanna print values from 1 to 10. Okay, so we need some initialization. The initial value or the first uh, uh, step in the loop would be a value if we start at 1. So let's say we start at 0 and then inside the loop we add 1. So we start at 0 here. So this is our initialization. Now, a stopping criterion could be a condition by which we determine whether we stop or not. Okay, so we can use the while keyword. It's very similar to Java, the while keyword, and then the condition itself. So let's say we want to keep running as long as I is less than 10. Okay, and then here this is not in Java, it's specific to Python. The colon to indicate that I'm not done with the statement. There is something else to come, just like when we talked about the if statement. Okay, and then there is the indentation. Okay, so now I want to print. So eventually I want to print the value of I. Okay, so here we want the update. Now we can have the update after the print or before the print. So we just need to have some sort of update inside the loop. So let's say we're gonna have the update here plus equal 1. Okay, now it is important that the update has to go towards the stopping criteria. Otherwise, we will end up with an infinite loop, right? If I never reaches the value of 10, we will keep running forever. It's an infinite loop, right? Now, if I try to print this, let's see how does it look like. Okay, so if I'm gonna try to run this to see what does it look like. So it starts from 1, it ends at 10. So that's exactly what we want. Okay, now just like in Java, sometimes we want to skip some parts of the loop. So there is a keyword to continue that is similar to the continue keyword in Java. So let's say we want to skip the printing of the values that are even. Okay, so let's say if and I want to put a condition that is based on whether the value is even or not, and we know a value is even when it is divisible by 2. So divisible by 2 means that the modulo of the value is equal to 0. Okay, so in that case, I want to continue. Okay, so the continue keyword, what does it do? It just skips what is left from the loop, doesn't execute what is remaining in the loop, and goes directly to the header of the loop so that it starts the next iteration. Okay, so let me just put a print statement here so that says outside of the loop. All right, so once we are done with the loop, we execute what is remaining in the script or in the program, right? Now let's learn about something. I don't know if you learned about it in 1036 or not. So we can pause the program while it's running so that we can examine its state. Okay, so we want to debug the program. So we can run the program in debug mode and stop it in a particular point. So let's say I want to stop it here. So it doesn't stop like end the program, it doesn't end it. It just pauses the program so that we can examine its internal state. Now, see if you open the run menu, like you can find the run menu, you will see that there are two options to running here. So there is a start debugging, and then there is run without debugging. Okay, and when you click on the play button, it just runs without debugging. If we wanna run it in debug mode so that we can examine it, we click on start debugging like this. So you see, we'll execute the program, and once it says it sees a breakpoint, it pauses. Now it's waiting for me to tell it whether what I wanted to do. So it allows me to look at the code. Now you see, we're gonna talk about all of these panels as we go through the course. But right now the program is running, but just waiting for me to tell it what to do. Now I want it to execute step by step. So you see this control panel over here. Now I can use a step over to let it know that I want it to take one step. Okay, so one step, it goes to the next line, the next executable line. Okay, so the next step here is for to check whether I is less than 10. Now, did you see that when we executed line 3, the variable I appeared here? Okay, so the variable I has been defined. So this panel shows us what variables that we have here in the program. We have a variable called I. Right now it has the value 0. Now we are about to execute this line 5, that has the while statement or the while keyword and the condition. So I is less than 10, that evaluates to true, right? This is true. So when we say go to the next step, we should expect the next step to be inside of the loop, right? So inside of the loop, so line 7, okay? And then now this line adds 1 to I, so you will see when I step over it, you will see that the value of I has changed. Okay, now I modulo 2 is not 0, so this condition is false. So when I ask it to go to the next step, I should expect it that it's not gonna execute the continue. It's going to skip the substatement of the if, and then go to the next statement, which in here is line 10. So when I say step over, it goes to line 10. Now it prints line 10, and then it will go, this is the last line in the loop, so the next step is to go to the header. So execute this one, and then, so it did print 1, and then went to the header of the loop. Now it's gonna examine the condition again. 1 is still less than 10, so when we execute, like when we step over this line, we should expect to go inside of the loop. So when we go there, it will add 1 to I, which is now 2. So we can see here, it's changed the value to 2. And now it will examine this condition. Now 2 modulo 2 is 0, so this condition is true. So we should expect it, sorry. We should expect it to enter the if statement. When we step over, we should go inside the if statement. Now we are about to execute the continue or continue keyword. What does it do? It skips what is left in the loop. Now you see line 10 is still in the loop, right? The part of the loop. But because we have the continue keyword, we are going to skip that, and then we go directly to the header. So if I say step over, go to the next step. The next step is the header of the loop. Okay, now I is 2, still less than 10. If we enter the loop, we add, so it's 3. Now this condition is false, so we should expect it to skip what's inside the if and go to the next step in the loop, which is to print. So now we're printing 3, and then it keeps going like this until eventually we are done. And then when we are done, when the condition is false, it goes outside. All right. Now, just like the continue keyword, there is a keyword called break. Now, what the break does, it doesn't continue with the loop, it just breaks the loop. So exit the loop altogether. Okay, so in that case, it will exit whenever at the first value that is divisible by 2. Now, if I click on F5, it will run in debug mode. Now it pauses at line 3 where I had my breakpoint. I can execute it line by line as we did before. Now here, when I is equal to 2, it's gonna examine this condition. And it is true, so we expect it to enter the if statement. Now we have a break. What happens when a break? We just exit the loop altogether, regardless of the condition. So when we exit the loop, we should expect to execute the line right outside of the loop, which is here line 12. Okay, so that's gonna print outside of the loop. All right. Now there is something that is not doesn't exist in Java. We can have a break clause in with a while. So we can we can have an else clause with a while. So we know that else that is related to the if, right? When we have an if statement, we can have an if clause, else clause, right? Now it works similarly here. It works similarly here. Now, will only be executed if the condition of the while is false. So if we happen to break the loop, we exit the loop using a break statement, this line will not be executed. Okay? The else part is not going to be executed. So the else part will only be executed when the condition of the while is false. So if we want to know whether we exited the loop in a normal way because the condition is false, or we exit it because of the break, we can put an else statement here. So this else statement will only be executed if the loop is done normally, like because the condition is false, not because of a break. So let's try it out. Okay, so I will go here. So now we are going to break. Now let's see what happens next. So what happened next is it exited the loop, but it didn't enter the else part. Okay. Now, if we have a continue instead of a break, or if we just comment out this part, we have a normal loop, and then the loop runs until it ends, like until the condition is false. Only then we will exit. We will enter the else part. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then only then, because the condition when after with 10 it was added no, the 10 is not less than 10, so the condition is false, so now we enter the else. Okay, now what if I want to examine the loop like this? Certain values of the loop, but I don't want to go through all of them like this, so I can put a breakpoint here that is a conditional breakpoint. So I want to stop here, but I don't want to stop every single iteration. Okay, I want to stop based on a particular condition. So I only want to stop, I wanted to see the last iteration. Okay, so I only want to stop here if I is equal to 10 after I increment. Okay, so it will stop at this breakpoint only when I is equal to 10. So I don't have to step over the entire loop just because I want to see the last iteration. Okay, so let me try this out here. So here we are stopping here. I'm just going to continue. So continue just runs the program normally without pausing until it finds that next breakpoint. Okay, so I'm going to continue. It will run all the entire loop. Why didn't it stop? Okay, let me see what happened here. Oh, sorry. So it will not, okay, so I didn't put it in the right place. I put it here, which is will not be, it will not come back when I is 10, it will not come back to this line. So I put the breakpoint in a wrong place. So I'll remove it from here and I put it here. Okay. So I will edit this and I say stop this when I is equal to 10. All right. So now I'll run it in debug mode again. Now we are normal breakpoint. I will run it. Continue means run the program normally without pausing until you see the next breakpoint. So that will stop here only. So we see how it went through the entire loop. Okay, it went through the entire loop, but now when I is 10, we are about to print the 10, right? So that saves me that the time I had to spend executing every iteration. All right, so now I can see that when the condition was false, I entered the else clause, and then now it's gonna print what's there and then continue. Okay, and that would be the end of that loop.